Beginning meditation practice. Welcome back everyone to Mind Podcast. Miss Sarah Lim is a Singaporean-born Buddhist currently residing in Australia who has made significant contributions to Buddhist activities. This article is excerpted and translated from one of her Dharma talks given in Perth, Western Australia in September 2002. Through personal experience and through exchanges with fellow meditators, I believe we need a clear, step-by-step home meditation program. The place. First, we need an appropriate place for daily practice, so we won't be disturbed during meditation. The meditation spot should be quiet and well ventilated. If you have a small room set aside for meditation, that is ideal. When we built our house, we designed a small dining area next to the living room, following the local style of home layouts. But when we moved in, we realized we rarely entertain guests anymore. We no longer enjoyed noisy social gatherings, so we decided to convert that dining area into a space for worship and meditation. In the meditation room, we kept decorations minimal. There is simply a small altar with a Buddha statue. Around the walls are small bookshelves for scriptures and Buddhist reference materials. On the floor is a rug for prostrations, chanting, and sitting in meditation. I use a low cabinet, about 80 centimeters tall, as the altar. On top of that, we place a small wooden stand for the Buddha statuette. This is a 30 centimeters brass alloy statue from Thailand. I also have a small incense burner and a pair of battery-powered candles purchased at an Asian mall. Occasionally, on special occasions, I add a vase of fresh flowers. I like this arrangement. It is simple but solemn. The altar is at eye level when we kneel or sit in meditation, so we can gaze upon the Buddha image and feel a sense of closeness to the Blessed One. In truth, the meditation area doesn't have to be anything special. What's important is setting up a designated spot and a fixed time for meditation, so we can develop a regular habit at the same time, same place. Additionally, before meditating, to avoid phone calls interrupting me, I usually switch the phone to an answering mode and keep the ringer volume low. Each day, I bow and meditate twice. In the evening around 10 p.m. and in the early morning around 5 a.m. before others in the house wake up. Early morning is when the mind is clear and the body is well rested. A serious meditator will always meditate at set times, knowing that if there is enough rest, the body will not be tired and the mind will be alert. Previously, I used wax candles, but recently I switched to electric ones. The candlelight shining from the altar reminds me of the compassion and wisdom of the Blessed One. This light also creates a calm, solemn, and warm atmosphere in the meditation room. Additionally, whenever my mind starts to wander, focusing on the light of the candle helps bring me back to the present moment, to where I am sitting, observing my own breath, chanting. In the morning, when my mind is fresh after sleep, I only chant a few short verses before I start meditating. Entering the meditation room, I kneel down and begin with 3 prostrations, slowly and deliberately, with my feet, knees, hands, and forehead touching the ground, just as we see Theravada Buddhists typically do in temples. While kneeling, I place my palms together and recite 3 times. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I pay homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the perfectly self-enlightened one. Then I summarize the homage to the Triple Gem, bowing once after each verse. Araham sama sambuddho bhagava. Buddham bhagavantam abhivadami. Bow. Svakato bhagavata dhammo. Dhammam namasami. Bow. Supatipano bhagavato savaka sangho. Sangham namami. Bow. Meaning, the Blessed One is worthy, perfectly enlightened. I pay homage to the Buddha, the Blessed One. The Dharma is well expounded by him. I pay homage to the wondrous Dharma. The noble Sangha has practiced well. I pay homage to the exalted Sangha. After that, I start meditating. In the evening, after a day of work, I often feel sleepy. Moreover, if I've had many things on my mind throughout the day, it's harder for the mind to settle down. Therefore, I usually chant more in the evening and devote less time to meditation than in the morning, except on weekends or holidays, when I'm more relaxed and can dedicate more time to meditation. I begin the evening session with 3 prostrations and reciting the phrase Namo Tassa, as in the morning. But then I chant in full the verses praising the virtues of the Triple Gem. Next, I recite the refuge in the Triple Gem, the 5 precepts of a lay Buddhist, the 5 daily reflections, and the Metta, loving-kindness, Sutta. These are the common Pali chants I learned from a cassette recorded and distributed by the monks at the temple. Chanting slowly and clearly, 1 syllable at a time, helps focus the mind and increases faith in the Triple Gem. After chanting, I begin meditating. Meditation practice. When sitting in meditation, you should keep your back straight yet relaxed, balanced, and free from tension. Keep your head upright, balanced over your shoulders, your face turned toward the altar without tilting downward. Let your eyes gently close but not fully shut. If you find it difficult to focus on the nostrils, you can apply a chanting technique known as Buddho, which is Pali for Buddha. Mentally say Bud, pronounced like boot for the in-breath, and Do for the out-breath. Bud, inhale. Do, exhale. Bud, Do, Bud, Do, Bud, Do. This method is very popular among Thai meditators. I've practiced it myself and found it highly effective for building concentration. Some say it is a method of Buddha recitation or reciting a mantra. The name doesn't really matter. What's important is that many people have used this technique successfully to calm the mind. Once you feel your mind has settled, you can drop the word repetition and simply return to silently observing the in-breath and out-breath at the nose. Some meditators count their breaths from 1 to 10. Inhale and exhale, count 1. Inhale and exhale, count 2. And so on, up to 10. Then start again at 1. I tried this method, but it didn't feel natural to me. You shouldn't think it's pointless or a waste of time if you get lost in wandering thoughts or doze off. These are normal hindrances we all face. You shouldn't feel discouraged, disappointed, or annoyed with yourself. To succeed, we need patience and a relaxed, gentle attitude to train the mind. Meditation masters often emphasize patience and persistent, steady, daily practice. Each meditation session is a step on the path the Buddhas have laid out, gradually guiding us toward each person's ultimate goal of liberation, spreading loving kindness. After focusing on the breath, I then practice metta, loving kindness, meditation. There are many ways to do this, and you should experiment to find what works best for you. Remaining in a relaxed sitting posture, with a slight smile, in a calm, clear, and detached state of mind, I silently wish, may I be well, may I be happy. Holding on to that gentle joy, I direct my awareness to each part of my body, from the top of my head to my face, shoulders, arms, chest, abdomen, thighs, and feet. Usually, as I do this, I feel a warm, pleasant sensation throughout my body. Maintaining this sense of peace, I begin extending loving kindness to my household members, wishing them to be well. Then I move on to my neighbors, my co-workers, my Dharma friends, the monks and nuns. I know everyone in this city, this country, on this continent, and eventually all beings in this world. Each time I shift my focus, I pause for a few moments, thinking of those people or beings with warmth and wishing they may be happy. Practicing metta meditation this way usually takes about 10 or 15 minutes. Ending the session, still seated, I slowly open my eyes. Facing the Buddha statue, I place my palms together, respectfully thanking the Blessed One for teaching a practice that leads to tranquility and liberating insight. I then gently massage my feet and limbs. Returning to a kneeling position, I fold my palms and chant a dedication of merit to all beings. I bow 3 times, then slowly stand up, remaining mindful and alert. Walking meditation. On days off or whenever I have more time, I also practice walking meditation, either inside the house or outside in the yard. One meditation master advised choosing a path of about 20 or 30 steps. If the path is longer, the mind is more likely to wander. And if it's too short, there's not enough time to focus on each step. Unless it's raining, I prefer walking meditation outside. We made a pathway around the house, about 1 meter wide and paved with tiles, so I can walk around the house in a circle. Clock whizzes similar to how devotees circumambulate a stupa or shrine at the temple on major festival days. With arms hanging loosely in front of me, palms touching lightly, my gaze turns slightly downward, and a slight smile on my face, I walk at my usual unhurried pace. Some meditators walk extremely slowly, observing each movement. However, each person has to experiment to find a suitable walking speed. I focus on each step, noticing the sensations as my foot touches the ground, right foot, then left foot. The feeling as the foot first makes contact, as the body's weight settles onto it, and then as it lifts again, then moving my attention to the other foot in turn. Each step is a new process you simply note without analyzing or discussing it. After a certain period of practice, you may experience a sense of ease and lightness throughout the body while walking. You might even sense there is no person, walking only, the action of walking, and an awareness quietly observing the steps. These experiences arise naturally, unexpectedly, and fade away just as suddenly. Don't cling to them or expect them to happen. When my mind wanders off, I gently bring it back, returning it to the steps of walking. Sometimes I use the Buddha technique to stabilize my mind. When my right foot touches the ground, I mentally say bud, and when my left foot touches, do, bud, right, do, left, bud, do, bud, do. I continue in this way. Once the mind settles more, I stop mentally repeating Buddha and just note the sensations of each step. Usually, after about 20 steps, I pause for a few seconds, noting the body standing still, then continue walking. I keep this up for 3 circuits around the house, or more if time allows. Walking meditation promotes good circulation, allows me to breathe fresh air, and strengthens mindfulness while the body is in motion, reinforcing the mind's capacity to stay undistracted by the outside environment. Meditation in daily life. We can apply the principle of mindful breathing in everyday life while waiting at a bus or train station, in an airport, waiting for family members to finish shopping, or while seated as a passenger on a car or plane trip. Instead of feeling restless or bored or distracting ourselves with reading, listening to music, or chatting, we can gently close our eyes, observe our breath, and let the mind become calm and rested. I work in an office in the city center near some old Christian churches. Sometimes, on my lunch break, I go into one of these churches, sit quietly with my eyes closed, and spend 10 or 15 minutes simply watching my breath. Out there are people bustling around to eat or shop. In here is a peaceful, solemn atmosphere, refreshing oasis that allows the mind to rest after hours of stressful thought at work. We can also apply the spirit of walking meditation to our daily steps on the way to work or strolling somewhere at a relaxed pace. Even in moments of anger, frustration, or gloom about some incident or problem, I try not to react immediately but pause to focus on my breath, breathing in and out for a few seconds. Naturally, I feel calmer. Those heavy emotions vanish, and I can respond more calmly, gently, and constructively. Over time, I've come to see that these small, simple efforts help me settle my mind more quickly for my home meditation sessions and retreat practice. I feel more at peace when facing life's challenges. Compared to the past, before I began meditating, our family life is now calmer and happier. Life is simpler, we need less, so there's less stress. I have more time to contribute to Buddhist activities and charitable work. Of course, the ultimate path to liberation demands more effort and perseverance, but at least I believe I'm on the right path, and I'm already reaping precious benefits for myself and those around me. The Benefits of Walking Meditation by Venerable U. Silananda. In our meditation retreats, practitioners must strive to be mindful in all 4 postures walking: standing, sitting, and lying down, maintaining mindfulness at every moment. However, the primary posture for insight meditation is sitting cross-legged. Since the human body cannot endure that posture for many hours, we alternate sitting sessions with periods of walking meditation. Because walking meditation is so important, I like to discuss its nature, significance, and benefits. Practicing mindfulness meditation can be compared to boiling water. When boiling water, you place a pot on the stove and turn on the heat. If you keep turning the heat off of it, briefly the water will never boil, no matter how many times you turn the heat back on. If you repeatedly switch it on and off, the water never comes to a boil. Similarly, if there is a break in continuous mindfulness, you cannot build up enough momentum and cannot achieve stable concentration. Therefore, in intensive retreats, practitioners are guided to maintain unbroken mindfulness while awake, from the moment they open their eyes in the morning until they fall asleep at night. Thus, walking meditation is integrated into this continuity of practice. It is unfortunate that some people dismiss walking meditation, claiming that you cannot gain any real benefit or accomplishment from it. However, the Buddha was the first to teach walking meditation. In the Maha Satipatthana Sutta, the great discourse on the foundations of mindfulness, the Buddha mentions walking meditation twice. In the section on the 4 postures, he teaches that a bhikkhu monk should be aware, I am walking when he walks, I am standing when he stands, I am sitting when he sits, and I am lying down when he lies down. Then, in the section on clear comprehension, the Buddha says, a bhikkhu applies clear comprehension when going forward and when returning. Clear comprehension here means an accurate understanding of what one observes. To understand it accurately, one needs concentration, and to gain concentration, one must be mindful. So when the Buddha says bhikkhus apply clear comprehension, we should understand that this includes mindfulness, concentration, and clear comprehension while walking forward or back. Thus, walking meditation is an integral component in developing concentration. 1. How to practice walking meditation. Although the Maha Satipatthana Sutta does not include detailed instructions on walking meditation, we can assume the Buddha taught it to his disciples during his lifetime, and these instructions were likely passed down. Moreover, ancient meditation masters would have established systematic teachings based on their own practice. Today, we have inherited a set of specific guidelines on how to do walking meditation. If you're a complete beginner, a teacher may first instruct you to observe only the movement of the feet by silently noting step, 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 or left, right. At this stage, you may walk a bit more slowly than usual. After a few hours, or a day or two of practice, you will be advised to pay attention to 2 phases of each step. 1. Lifting, and 1. Placing the foot. Mentally noting, lifting, placing, lifting, placing. You must strive to focus on these 2 parts of each step. Later, you will be asked to pay attention to 3 phases. 1. Lifting, 2. Moving forward, and 3. Placing. Then a further instruction might be 4 phases. 1. Lifting, 2. Moving forward, 2. Placing, pressing the foot down. You would mentally note, lifting, moving, placing, pressing. In the beginning, the meditator finds it difficult to walk so slowly. However, once they focus carefully on each movement, they automatically slow down. They don't need someone to tell them to slow their steps. When they carefully observe every motion, the pace naturally becomes slower. When driving on a highway at 100 kilometers per h, you cannot read every sign. To read each sign, you must drive more slowly. You don't need an explicit order to slow down. It happens naturally if you want to see the signs. In the same way, if you are closely observing the nuances of each phase lifting, moving, placing, pressing, you will naturally slow your walking. Even if the meditator walks more slowly and carefully observes, they may at first still not see each phase distinctly. These stages may blend together, seeming like a continuous action. But once concentration becomes stronger, the 4 stages of the step become clear. The lifting is separate from moving forward, and that is separate from placing, and so on. You see them clearly and recognize the difference among them. The events you observe become more distinct in your mind. 2. Recognizing the 4 great elements. As you continue practicing walking meditation, you will start noticing additional phenomena. When lifting the foot, there is a sensation of lightness. When moving it forward, you sense movement. When lowering the foot, you sense heaviness. And when the foot touches down, you notice contact, solidity, hardness, or softness. Thus, in each step, you are directly experiencing the 4 fundamental elements, dhatu, of earth, water, fire, and wind. Let us look more specifically at how these elements manifest in walking meditation. 1. Lifting the foot. You notice a certain lightness zone aspect of the fire element is making things lighter so they can rise. There is also movement, the wind element. Fire is predominant, wind is secondary here. 2. Moving the foot forward. The predominant sensation is the motion itself, the wind element. 3. Lowering the foot. You notice a sense of heaviness. Heaviness is associated with the water element in its dense or viscous form. 4. Pressing or placing the foot on the ground. You experience hardness or softness, characteristic of the earth element. By carefully watching these 4 phases, the meditator can directly experience the 4 great elements as ultimate realities, paramatha, not just concepts. Only meditators who diligently practice will have a chance to directly see such phenomena. 3. Insight into name and form, namarupa. As you persist in walking meditation, you also realize that together with each motion, there arises a consciousness that knows that motion. When lifting occurs, there's an awareness of lifting. When moving forward occurs, there's an awareness of moving. Furthermore, you see that both the motion and the awareness arise and pass away in that same moment. Through continued observation, you understand these phenomena as pairs. One is form, rupa, the physical movement, and the other is name, nama, the mind that is aware. Moreover, you see that each pair arises and dissolves at each moment of observation. Next, you will see that each movement is preceded by an intention to move. You realize that you lift your foot because you intend to lift it, you move forward because you intend to move forward, and so on. You recognize that there is a cause or condition for every action. Nothing happens without conditions. No divine force or entity is required to make your foot move. By seeing that intention precedes movement, you discover conditionality, cause and effect. Once you realize that conditionality governs all phenomena, doubts about name and form naturally subside. When you deeply comprehend this conditional nature that name and form are not created by some deity and cannot arise without causes, you begin to overcome skeptical doubt, vicikiccha. Reaching this insight is sometimes described in Theravada as the stage approaching stream entry, kuwa sotapanna. A stream enterer, sotapanna, is someone who has attained the first level of enlightenment. While approaching stream entry is not the same as fully entering the stream, it's understood that such a person will be reborn only into happy states, human or heavenly, barring any severe unwholesome actions. This key inside overcoming doubt about name and form can be gained by simply observing the movement of the feet and the act of knowing that movement. This is one of the greatest benefits of walking meditation. 4. The 3 characteristics. As meditators observe the arising and disappearing of name and form at every moment, they see the impermanence, anicca, inherent in these processes. Recognizing the phenomenons arising and passing away reveals that it does not last forever. If we want to verify whether something is permanent or impermanent, we examine through meditative concentration whether it undergoes arising and ceasing. If we see directly that it arises and disappears, we understand it is impermanent. Thus, the meditator sees that each stage of the foot's movement arises and disappears, and the awareness of that stage also arises and disappears. Observing this repeated cycle, the meditator realizes these phenomena are impermanent. Because they are impermanent, they are also unsatisfactory dukkha, being continually oppressed by arising and passing. And because they inevitably follow the laws of cause and effect, the meditator sees they are not governed by any personal self, revealing the characteristic of non-self, anatta. Hence, by practicing mindful walking by, closely noting each step's movements and the awareness of the mon, comes to understand these 3 marks of conditioned phenomena: impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. 5. Equanimity, letting go. Let us dig deeper. Suppose we film the lifting movement. If lifting takes 1 second, a camera recording 36 frames per second gives us 36 separate images for a single lifting motion. We see each frame slightly differs, showing the foot in a slightly different position, though barely noticeable to the naked eye. If the camera were capable of 1,000 frames per second, we'd see 1,000 subdivisions of that single lift. If it recorded 1,000,000 frames per second though, we don't yet have that technology. We see 1,000,000 tiny movements in one lift of the foot. In practicing walking meditation, we aim to observe movements similarly to how this ultra high-speed camera would, moment by moment. That is how the Buddha, with his perfected insight, saw each movement in every fraction of a second. While we can't see millions of moments as the Buddha did, we can observe enough to break the illusion of a single, continuous movement. Before practicing meditation, we think each step is just one motion. After meditating, we see at least 4 phases. As concentration deepens, we realize that each phase itself contains countless micro movements. We become aware of mind and matter arising and ceasing, moment after moment, revealing their impermanent nature. We fail to see impermanence normally because it is hidden behind a false sense of continuity. We assume things are solid and unchanging. Meditation helps strip away that illusion so we can see reality. The phenomenon we call one step is actually an infinite sequence of emergent and vanishing events. By directly perceiving this, the meditator no longer clings. When you see something is full of holes and constantly eroding, you lose your desire to hold on to it. Modern physicists recognize that what we call matter is just a ceaseless interplay of particles and energy. There is no truly solid substance at its core. This experiential insight, once realized by a meditator, leads to non-attachment. Seeing everything as flux arising and passing there is nothing worth grasping or craving in these phenomena. 6. Conclusion. We practice meditation to uproot craving and attachment. By directly seeing the impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self of all conditioned phenomena, we let go. When there is attachment, there is always trouble. If we want to be free of suffering, we must give up attachment and understand that all phenomena are merely a process of mind and matter arising and ceasing without essence. By personally verifying this through our own insight, we can genuinely let go of clinging. If we don't see this for ourselves, no matter how many teachings or lectures we hear, we cannot truly break free from attachment. Hence, we must cultivate mindfulness not only while sitting, but also while walking, standing, or lying down. I am not implying that walking meditation alone will bring final realization, but it is equally potent as sitting meditation or other Vipassana methods. Walking meditation nurtures mental development, helps eradicate unwholesome states, and increases our wisdom to see reality as it is. We must practice walking meditation with dedication, just as we do with sitting or other insight practices. Through the steady cultivation of insight in all postures, including walking, you and all practitioners attain complete purification in this very life.